It's okay?
Yeah, I think I got you, Brad.
You good,
All
bro?
right. We're ready to get started when you are.
All right, I'm looking at all the boxes here. Everybody looks good. I don't have a lot to say. I'm just going to kind of open it up. It's good to be back out there. It feels a little bit like we've been here for a long time because there was a build-up and a lot of walkthroughs, but we're back out there competing, which is good. So with that, I'll open it up.
Let's go to Sam. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Coach. How's it going?
Great, Sam. How are you?
Good. Just a couple real quick ones for you. Breland Speaks back this year. I'm wondering what you've seen from him so far. And then new guy with Tedrick Thompson. What have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Sam. It's a little bit early. I'm big on, the making the assessments in full pads. So we've had 3 of them, and for those guys, it hasn't been a lot of reps. It took Tedrick a little bit to get going. So he's been in and out. And the one thing we got to do is get Tedrick with the first group so we can see how he functions with those guys. It's unfair sometimes when you're in there with guys that don't know the system just like you don't. But he's working hard. So isn't Breland. It's good to have Breland back. Gives us another body, another option out there. And he's working hard. He really is.
Let's go to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Steve. How you doing today?
I'm good, Adam. I'm great.
Good. Hey, a couple things. First, I wanted to ask you about a couple of the rookies, Willie Gay and L'Jarius Sneed, and what you've seen from them so far in a week or so of practice. And also, when Pat makes one of his off-schedule plays, like there were a couple of those yesterday in practice, what does that do to a defense when you think maybe you're in position or he's not in position to make a throw, and they're next thing you know, it's a touchdown?
I just always blame it on the fact that he's got a yellow jersey on and we can't hit him. That's what I tell the guys. Look, and he's going to make those plays. I think our guys understand that, and but it does challenge us to make sure, when he's scrambling around. I mean, our thing is you got to plaster a receiver, so everybody finds someone. We try to keep the quarterback contained. It's a great challenge for us because we're going to face, certainly in the first 3 games, quarterbacks similar with athletic ability and able to make those kind of plays. So it's good for us. Going back to, give me the 2 names again, Adam, that you said. You asked me about 2.
Willie Gay and L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, both guys working hard. I'm hopeful for both of them. Both those guys, Willie especially, love football. That was one of the things that Matt House had identified with coaches and people that have worked with Willie. I think the more guys you can get like that, the better, certainly in defensive football, anywhere on your football team. And LJ plays a position that takes a lot of challenge. I mean, look, he's out there battling. It doesn't always go great. I think mentally both those guys are doing a really good job of keeping their heads in the playbook, and I think they pick things up and have some what I call football get it. So I think that helps us going forward.
Let's go to Mick Schaefer. Go ahead, Mick.
Hey, Coach. You mentioned Speaks. We're going to talk to Tano today as well. You got Taco in the mix and a number of other defensive ends that have seen the field in the NFL. What's that competition like, especially at the one spot? And how's it all going to shake out, you think?
Yeah, we're going to let ways to go to figure that out, but it's nice to have that many options. I mean, Andy says it all the time, and I just repeat it. Anytime you can get a lot of competition at one spot, that's good for us. You get to pick the best players. We'll see how it all shakes out. TK was key for us last year. We didn't have Breland, but he's back. Taco's new. A couple of those other guys. I mean, we've had Alex and we've had Frank. So we just keep them all in the mix. It's nice to have those numbers. And Brendan, there's a lot of good work with them. So hopefully we can surface and find out how many, whatever that's going to be, that we're going to keep and keep them healthy.
Let's go to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Coach. I want to follow up on 2 of the guys that Sam mentioned earlier with Breland Speaks and Tedrick Thompson. For Breland Speaks, because this is year 2 for him into the system, is there something that you may have noticed either early so far in camp or even in the offseason program that you knew going into year 2 he's much more prepared to have success, obviously having learned the system previously? And then with Tedrick Thompson, what did you guys see on film that gave you optimism that he could help you out early if necessary?
Yeah, I mean, one thing about Tedrick is he's played in the league. He worked with a guy that worked for me, Andre Curtis, who I got a lot of respect for. And Andre's a good football coach, so I know that Tedrick's been coached up real well. And so I think that helps him, with the certainly early here, learning the system. But it's going to be a learning curve. I mean, there's a lot for the safeties to know back there. There's a lot of communication. Breland, the one thing, he was hurt last year, and I would hesitate to say that he's really had 2 years in the system because, you know, we got him in the training camp, I believe, and then he got hurt. So he had that background. But it's really been a whole year, and you've got to be out there doing it. It's one thing to learn it in a meeting room, on tape, listening to the coaches. It's another thing to go out and do it. So he's a little bit rusty, but he's not going to rust off. And again, like I said before, we're hopeful for all those defensive ends there.
Let's go to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you again.
You too.
I know we talked about last year that the new system took a little bit, maybe more time to figure out the rotations than you thought it might last year. But when you did, I mean, you got in a groove at the end of the season. How do you take that into the season and try and carry it over this year while adding new elements and expanding what you're doing?
Good question. Listen, as a staff, we say it all the time. What we're going through with mask and WebEx meetings and, you know, the challenges of what we're dealing with right now, we're all really glad it's not the first year. It will be really hard. Second year, the guys that have been here, that are in the same spots, that's been a tremendous advantage for us. But I will say this, you know, Kendall Fuller's not here. Juan hasn't been out there. There are some spots and some pieces that we got to find to put this thing all together. We're light years away. I think I said this before when we talked, that just because you finish at a certain point at the end of one year does not mean you pick right up from that particular spot. We got to go back to ground zero. It's still about getting better every day. There's nothing in our brains that says that we're not going to go through some growing pains this year, just like we did last year. That happens every year, and especially with no preseason games, not going against another opponent except for our offense for whatever it is, 5 weeks here. It's going to be a challenge. I think it's going to be a challenge for all defenses across the league. And so there's no guarantees here. We'll try to piece it together as best we can. I am glad, though, that it is the second year and not the first for these guys.
Looks like we've got 2 more hands up. Let's go Steve and then Pete. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Great, Steve.
Hey, in talking to Tyron earlier this week, he said that he is grateful to you because you understand exactly what buttons to push. I'm interested in your ability to do that, and has it become more difficult after these guys have reached the success that they have?
That's a really good point. I guess we'll find out. I'm glad I'm pushing the right buttons. I'm not sure I always do that. My wife might not say that. But listen, the one thing I've always believed in this league is to have great respect for players. I respect these guys and haven't been with them for a year. I love them. I mean, I love working with them. It's a joy to go out every day and work with Tyron Matthew and all those guys. And so going forward, the point you made is a really good one, you know, pushing buttons after all that success. That can be a challenge. I think about it all the time. I'm always trying to find a niche or something to put up there that will, and I don't think our heads are not level. Like, I don't think our guys are thinking beyond what they should, but it's natural. We talk about keeping a rock solid foundation, and I've put things up that talk about hammers that can break up that foundation. And we talk about those things. So we hit it. I don't hit it all the time because I think sometimes they get sick of me saying things over and over, but I think we hit it enough, and the assistant coaches do a great job too.
Let's go to Pete Sweeney for the last one. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Steve, thanks for some time. I was just wondering, given the fact that you guys are fully healthy, or for the most part fully healthy along the defensive line, piggybacking off the year 2 question, does it afford you and Brendan Daly the ability to maybe get a little bit more exotic with some of these blitz pressures in this year, given that they've had that experience last year?
Yeah, that's a hope. I think, you know, we're going to lose Mike Pennell, I think, early in the season with a suspension. So we got to figure out the inside part of it. But on the outside, if we can, listen, we can find out what those guys on the outside we can do. We probably could get a little exotic. But the thing I want to be really careful of is jumping into that without getting back to square one, which it is for us. It's all about a foundation. And, you know, we don't see a lot of run plays right now. Our offense is they're an attack team throwing the ball downfield. I get concerned about us stopping the run. We play a team first game of the season that can run it pretty good. So we'll focus more on that right now and hopefully get them in those third down situations where we can do that.
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate your time.
Thank you all.
All right, guys, hang tight.